Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk a little bit about depression and understanding what's going on with this condition from a naturopathic perspective. So, there are several things that need to be addressed when someone is experiencing depression. Number one thing we need to look at is the hepatic glutathione pathway. We look at neurotransmission or neurotransmitters and heavy metals in the body or the level of heavy metals in the body. Also, potentially hormones. That kind of is dependent on the situation, but I'm going to kind of go over all these things with you guys. So, the first thing that needs to be tested for in the body is the integrity of the hepatic glutathione pathway. So, in order to do this, you need to work with someone that is going to test your CRP, which stands for C reactive protein, and your homocysteine levels. These two things in the body have to do with how your body deals with glutathione, which is our body's master antioxidant, and how it gets rid of toxins through the liver, basically, to sum it up. So, this is really important because of the potential for heavy metals to build up in the brain and cause depression and other mood disorders. So, when our hepatic glutathione pathway becomes impaired, our body can no longer get heavy metals out and they build up in the brain. So, most of the time when I see someone for depression, they have heavy metal buildup and they have a hepatic glutathione pathway that has been impaired that we need to repair. So the number one thing that I tell people who are suffering from depression is absolutely do not under any circumstance vaccinate, just because the influx of such a high content of heavy metals in the vaccines will actually damage that hepatic glutathione pathway. And if it's already been damaged from previous vaccination or previous heavy metal burden, we're just going to keep adding on top of a problem on top of a problem, and it's going to cause a lot of issues in the body. I'm not saying that I don't believe in inoculation from pathogens, but you can do it much safer using homeopathy instead of using a vaccine, which has heavy metals and chemicals in it that are really toxic to the body. So another thing I would have people avoid is fish, especially in the tuna family, because it is so high in the heavy metal content. What is ironic about damaging your hepatic glutathione pathway is often what damages what can get the heavy metals out is too many heavy metals in the first place, if that makes sense. So when we're dealing with depression, I really like to check the integrity of the hepatic glutathione pathway. On top of that, checking heavy metals, it can be done with urine and blood. I think both to be safe, but a lot of people just go based on urine. As long as you can get some sort of an indicator if we have this overburden in the body, that's great. And then you need to work with somebody that understands how not only to detox the heavy metals, but how to repair that hepatic glutathione pathway. Okay. As far as neurotransmitters, there are great neurotransmitter tests that you can take if you want to be really detailed about how you address this. I generally just kind of do a blanket protocol that balances all neurotransmitters, and that will obviously vary from practitioner to practitioner, but I just am trying to kind of build a picture for you guys of what it looks like to go after this naturally. So we're testing and we're dealing with neurotransmitters, hepatic glutathione pathway, heavy metals in the body. Now, if you end up finding that you don't have heavy metals present in the body, great. You don't have to necessarily detox them or deal with that, but you still need to check what's going on with the hepatic glutathione pathway, okay? As far as hormones go, when I have young women that are cycling that experience what I call PMS type D, which is depression with menstruation or on their way up to menstruation, in that scenario, I will also balance hormones, but it's not necessarily something that everybody needs to do. On top of all of the different herbal protocols that I will run for the things that I've mentioned, I also like to use a Chinese blend for kind of general mood elevation. St. John's wort, I'm sure most people have heard of this. You want to be careful because it actually contraindicates with certain prescription drugs. But it's interesting, St. John's wort only works on about 50% of people. So that might not work for some people and it might for others. But I have found a lot of great Chinese mood elevating blends that work on people that the St. John's wort doesn't. But I just really want to encourage you guys to understand that there are multifaceted things going on here. It's not just about, giving the brain a drug that's supposed to balance it, because there's more at work here than just what's going on in your brain. Another big thing that really is coming to light is the connection between the brain and gut. It's literally called the brain-gut connection. They are starting to call our gut our second brain. And I want you guys to understand that what's good for the gut is good for the brain and vice versa. What's bad for the gut is bad for the brain. So if you have someone that's suffering from depression and they are eating like crap, this is not going to help what's going on in the brain. You really, really need to clean up your diet if you suffer from depression. You have to take out the junk food. You have to take out the sugar. You really need to increase fiber-based foods, which are fruits, vegetables, beans, organic whole grains, and legumes. Increase water, get rid of soda and, energy drinks and coffee and all that trash, and really, really clean up what you're doing, because a lot of people don't realize that there is a ton of neurotransmitter production that actually happens in the gut. And when you start to address all of these things, from the diet to the hepatic glutathione pathway to the neurotransmitters, you will find that you start to feel better. So I just encourage you to find a practitioner that has experience with this, with doing this naturally, that really knows what they're doing with diet and with all the testing, so that you can really start feeling better with mental health. This is just such a huge problem, and it's really close to my heart, because I really see that we can help without using, prescription antidepressants, which I have found in the clients that come to me over time. They really just don't work, or the client doesn't feel very well. And I just really feel like there's such a healing space for doing this naturally. So thank you so much, you guys, for listening to this video. Good luck. And if you need anything, you can always contact me for a complimentary 15-minute phone consultation about depression or any of your health concerns at dmdnaturalmedicine.com.